Hi everyone, I'm Hannah and this is going to be my January knitting recap. So for this video, I want to talk about everything I've been up to during the month of January. For this video, I'm going to follow a traditional knitting podcast format, so talking about my finished objects, any works in progress I have. I am also going to talk about a couple flops or fails in there too, and then acquisition, so any new items, some new yarn and books, and a couple other items as well this month actually. So let's hop right in with what I'm wearing today, which is my first finished object of 2025. This is my Doppio Sweater by Sonja Sweater. It is a top-down raglan sweater and pretty basic construction with a couple interesting little elements to it, and what really makes it fun is it is designed to be made with either 2 or 3 strands of yarn held together to get some really interesting color combinations. So for this sweater, I used 3 strands of yarn held together. I have some scraps of them. There we go. So the main color you're seeing here is this Twisted Ambitions yarn. It is, the yarn base is called Spark, which is 74% baby steri alpaca, 26% silk, and it's in the color Seriously. So that's where the majority of the color of the sweater is coming from. Yeah, just a lot of really fun colors in here. Another yarn I used for this is this silk mohair that I bought when I was traveling to Copenhagen. I am not gonna attempt to pronounce the yarn. That is the yarn brand. And then this is their silk mohair, 72% kid mohair, 28% silk, in a color Candy Clouds. It's a little hard to tell with this ball, but it is like, has light yellows, light blues, and light pinks. Very soft color palette. And then the last yarn I used was Filcolana Alba, which is 100% alpaca, and this is in the color 977. It's like a nice cream oatmeal-y kind of color. And yeah, held together. Let me see if I can show you a little closer what this looks like. Yeah, I think it turned out really nicely. I ended up knitting the size 3, and it turned out, I think it's intended to have 2 to 5 inches of positive ease on the sweater. I think mine, I didn't measure it, but just based on looking at this, is a little bigger. I generally have a loose knitting gauge and tend to size down. But I think 3 might have been my measured, like, true to size, but I'm okay with this being a little oversized. It is like a very fluffy, cozy sweater for me. Yeah, like I said, 3 strands held together. It's 2 strands of fingering and 1 strand of lace recommended if you're going to do that method. It uses quite large needles, so this was made on a 6mm needle as the main hook, so it went by pretty quickly. Yeah, a couple features of it that I thought were unique and some new things I tried with this. The raglan increases. There's parts of it where you're increasing faster on the body or the sleeve, so there's kind of a curve to the raglan. I haven't noticed like a major difference, but I do think it helps it sit a little better. The sleeves and body have an optional faux seam, so you can still work in the round. I don't know if you can really see, maybe you can, but I think it's just a nice little small feature, and it keeps it a little bit more interesting as you're just doing a whole bunch of stockinette. And for the collar as well, there's instructions to kind of like pick up basically make like a crochet chain pickup, which in theory should make this a little stronger. I did that just because I've had some issues with collars kind of like sagging over time. I may eventually go in and add elastic in, like this is a double, or it's a folded neck edge, so I might put some elastic in the middle there if I feel it's necessary, but for now it's fine. Yeah, the sleeves are like a little long, but nothing crazy. I can kind of pull them over my hands. But yeah, there was no way I was going to do any frogging with this sweater, especially with, I mean, brush alpaca and mohair are both hard to frog, and then mixing them together was like nearly impossible. So kind of no chance of frogging with this one, which was fine. I didn't have a need to, but maybe just something to keep in mind while you're choosing your fibers. But yeah, I wasn't sure if it would feel like too like fluffy and not enough structure just with how much like alpaca and mohair is in the yarn that I chose, but so far so good. I'm liking it. It's pretty lightweight, but warm, not too warm. Like I feel like I can, you know, wear it indoors, or you know, I don't live anywhere too cold, so I don't need any like super bulky sweaters. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with it. My next finished object is a beanie. I finished 2 beanies this month. This is the first one. I would put it on, but I don't have the right hair for that today. I'll insert a picture of what it looks like on, but this is a modified Oslo hat. I talked about this in my winter plans. I have another beanie with this yarn that I really love. It's like my favorite hat, and I was like, oh, I'll just buy it in another color, but I didn't realize I bought, this is worsted and the other one was like DK. It's the same yarn composition, just different weights from the same dyer. So a little bit of an oops on my part, but it all worked out. The yarn brand is called Nerd String, and this is, yeah, their worsted weight, and this colorway is called Chartreuse Envy. I feel like it's showing up pretty like almost striped looking on camera. I think it's a little bit more subtle in person, but it does have a lot of really cool green variation. And yeah, I basically use the Oslo Hat pattern, which is designed for, I think, DK, a smaller yarn weight. So yeah, so for this one, I just cast on less stitches than recommended, since I did 84 stitches on a 4mm needle for this. I did block it, which I don't always do with beanies, and it grew a little bit, but I'm still happy with how it's fitting. And yeah, I'm really happy to have this one. I think this is something I'll wear a lot. In my next beanie, ta-da, a nice red beanie that's showing up very, very bright. But yeah, I was originally going to do the weekend hat by Petite Knit, and I cast it on and like got a decent way through it before I realized it is like a triple folded brim, and you need like 2 skeins of yarn for what I had, and I only had 1, so I frogged that. So I ended up just using the free pattern from Pearl Soho. It's called the Classic Ribbed Hat, and yes, this is Madeline Tosh DK yarn. Yeah, it's a superwash merino, 100% wool, and it is in the colorway Blood Runs Cold. Is this red color? There's some like slight variations, but it's pretty tonal, pretty solid red color. And for this one, I cast on 108 stitches, and I believe this was a 3.5mm. Yeah, generally like it. I think I wish I made the body a little longer. So a lot of times when I'm doing beanies and they do the decreases, I don't go all the way with however many decreases I say, because I really don't like working like small amount of stitches. I generally use like just magic loop or like my circular needles, and I don't like DPNs or like dealing with any other small circumference stuff. So I just basically go until I get annoyed. Because of that, I think I lost some of the length up here, and I should have accounted for it in the body instead and just knit longer on the body. It still fits fine. It's just like there isn't as much like room on the top of my head, but it works. So yeah, I would recommend this hat pattern. It's very easy. It's also like pretty easy to modify if you have a different yarn weight. But yeah, overall I'm happy with this. I'm happy to have some more red in my wardrobe, and we'll probably be making this pattern again in the future. My last item, I'm calling this a finished object, but I guess it's kind of more of a work in progress. But I did finish my first quilt square for my Stella quilt blanket. So here it is. It is mostly reds. It's I'm mostly using mini skeins I got from a advent calendar. And yeah, so this one I used 3 different colors. It's a little hard to tell, but there's like a dark maroon, a very close maroon here, and then this lighter color in the middle. So yeah, I basically did a whole bunch of testing and math at the beginning to figure out exactly, so I was trying to like maximize out my mini skeins that I have. I have 25 from my advent calendar and they are 25 grams. So I was like basically trying to figure out exactly how big to make these squares so that I could use 5 grams per square, so I could use each mini skein 5 times and have like basically no leftovers. So I ended up making these squares a little bit smaller than recommended in the pattern, but I think it's kind of, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I have like just baby amounts left of the ones I did use up, so that is great. So yeah, for this project I'm planning to make 12 of these and then connect them together to make a blanket. And so with that, my goal is to make one per month through every month of 2025, and then end of the year I will have a blanket. So far, after 1 month, I feel like that's a pretty attainable goal. You know, a couple of these in one sitting, and then yeah, just do that a couple times a month. There are a ton of ends to weave in, so I did go ahead and do it. I actually just finished it this morning for this guy, so that's something I'm trying to do every month. That's like part of me finishing it for the month means I also need to weave in the ends every month, because otherwise it will just get out of hand. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm happy with the yarn. And then I'll show you quickly here. This is what I'm planning to do for February. So this is some of that mini skein that's in this one. So I'm trying to like carry over some colors over multiple motifs, so that just to help them kind of look a little bit more cohesive. So this one I'll finish up with this square, and then I have a little bit of a brighter orange. These are my minis from my advent calendar, and then I also had these 2 in stash, just other sock yarn that I'm gonna add into the mix. So it'll be like mostly orangey square for February. So yeah, stay tuned and I'll show you how this one turns out. Alright, that's everything I finished in the month of January, and next we can jump into what I'm working on right now, or my works in progress, which this is going to be a little hard to see what's going on, but it is the start of a Musselburgh. Okay, this one always confuses me because I feel like everyone says Musselburgh, but like looking at the pattern name, it looks like it'd be, I don't know, Musselburgh? I don't know. Let me know if you know. But anyways, it is, I think, the most popular pattern on Ravelry. I think it surpassed the ranunculus as the most, I don't know how they rank them. I think it's like the most projects. Anyways, very popular pattern. And this one is for my boyfriend. His birthday's in February. And I was like, I'll knit you something for your birthday. I showed him like sweater patterns and hat patterns and all these things, and he's like, I'll take a black beanie. So very practical, not the most fun to knit considering black is like very hard to see what's going on. But yeah, I'm excited. I haven't done this pattern yet, so far so good. I have already made some modifications. Like I mentioned with the other beanie, I really don't like knitting on small circumferences. The construction of this hat is to basically make like a long tube, basically twice the length of your beanie, and then fold it in half on itself so it's like 2 layers thick. And because of that, you have to start on one end and start on a really small circumference, which I at least attempted it this time, but especially with the black yarn, I just like could not see what was going on and it was just not working. So instead what I did is I just like cast on in the middle of the beanie, worked a little bit in stockinette, and then I just did 1 round of decreases. So this will be one end of it here. Sorry, the light's like freaking out with the black yarn. And yeah, but when I cast on, I did a provisional cast on. So now that this is done, I'll just go back, pick up my stitches, and then just continue working this way. So I think that makes sense. I don't know, I just could not deal with the small circumference knitting. So that was my solution to it. I'd much rather decrease than increase from a small number of stitches. So yeah, I think this is working out so far. And the yarn I'm using is Cascade Heritage in True Black. I am holding it double, so this is fingering weight, so basically making a DK weight hat. I thought about not doing that, but then I realized just how much knitting that would be with just holding one strand, and I really, like, I don't think with how dark it is that you can really tell the difference that much. Still like a pretty fine knit look. So I just didn't think it was worth it to knit this color in particular with just one strand. So holding it double is working up nicely, and yeah, I'm hoping to have this done by mid-February for his birthday. So that is the goal, and I think I'm on my way. So next work in progress I have is my Sonja sweater. Ta-da! I have done you start on the back and work the back panel and then pick up both shoulders, and I've connected and worked maybe 2 inches-ish from there. So yeah, just got to the stockinette section and just working in the round. So yeah, for this I'm using 4.5 millimeters, and it's a 17 stitch gauge. I think I talked about this in my winter plans video, that I really wanted just like a cobalt blue sweater, and I was planning to frog my Hackett jacket blue cardigan that I made last year in this Malabrigo Rigos. Spoiler alert, I did frog it. Yeah, I talked about some other patterns that I was thinking about doing with this yarn, but I was thinking about it more, and part of my issue with the Hackett jacket was the stretch in it, because it was 100% superwash, which just kept like growing every time I wore it basically, and because of also the weight of it being a sweater, just like wasn't working for me. So I was thinking about holding it with something and hoping that whatever yarn I held it with would kind of help to prevent that from happening. So I found I had just one ball of this in my stash, and unfortunately it is discontinued yarn. So this is the Lang Yarn Alpaca Super Light, and this is it's colorway 6, and it is this nice bright blue color, but yeah, like I said, they don't make this anymore, so I had to kind of do some internet research and find somewhere that was still selling this, and I actually found a shop not too far from me that had it, so that was good. I'm sad that this yarn is no longer being made, because it is one I've used a couple times now and I do really like it. It is a lace or fingering weight, and it's 54% alpaca, 24% nylon, and 22% wool. Kind of like a mohair alternative that's alpaca, but it is just a nice fluffy yarn that I find to be very soft. So yes, I'm holding these two together. There is like some slight variation in their colors, but I think it works. I think it works up quite nicely. So yeah, basically I had these two in mind. I gauge swatched and it was matching the Sonja Sweater, which was one I've had on my list for a while. I don't have any like goals or deadlines or anything with this. I'm just gonna work on it as I have time, and yeah, I think it'll be a really nice basic sweater. Yeah, this is drop shoulder. There's some short row shaping in the shoulders so far, and then I think it's 1x1 rib details for the hems. Oh no, I'm dropping stitches. Nah. Dang it. Okay, we're gonna deal with this later. And my last work in progress is a pair of socks. Yeah, I mentioned in my winter knitting plans how I want to keep working on my sock knitting and just kind of improving my skills, new techniques, and figuring out like my perfect sock recipe. So I cast on this one. This is how far I am so far. It is from the Sock Project book by Summer Lee Knits. That's what I've been using to learn about knitting socks. And this is the French Connection pattern, which is just a stockinette striped sock. Yeah, the only thing I'm doing different is I'm trying out an afterthought heel. This pattern, I believe, has a heel flap and gusset, but that is a construction I've done before, so I just wanted to try a different one this time. And yeah, so I've placed my marker for where I want the heel to be, so yeah, I will go back in and add it at the end, but for now I'm just knitting in the round. And these colors are just ones I had in stash. This is Isager sock yarn, 40% easy wash alpaca, 40% easy wash merino wool, and 20% recycled nylon. And this is color 40. This is also Cascade Heritage, and well, I see you. I do see you. Hi, Gibby. Hi. I know. I love you too. All right, we have a new new member to the channel. This is Gibby. All right, I think she's gonna be joining us. All right, the blue yarn I'm using is Cascade Heritage in Sky Blue. So yeah, they're like pretty low contrast colors, but I'm really liking that color combo, and I'm excited to have some striped socks. So yeah, I will update you how it all goes with my first afterthought heel as well. So that's everything I'm actively working on. Before moving on to acquisitions, I did want to talk about a couple flops or frogs that I had this month. So I already mentioned I did end up frogging the Hackett jacket, that blue yarn I'm using now on my Sonja Sweater, and while I was at it I was like, I think I'm just gonna frog a couple other things I've been thinking about. One being my Lang Yarn Cloud sweater. Yeah, I really love this yarn and I was like really trying to make it work, but I think the body gauge on the sweater I made was just too loose, and that really can't be fixed without redoing it, so I'm just gonna have to remake that one, which is fine. It's like a pretty bulky weight yarn, so quicker sweater to knit. Yeah, I'm not sure when I'll like get back to that yarn, but yeah, that's been frogged. And then I was also working on my Celine cardigan. It was, I like had a feeling it was looking big, too big, and I had gauge swatched and it was like matching perfectly. I think once I started actually knitting, when I was knitting flat, I always get this mixed up. My stitches across and the gauge were matching, but my row gauge was just like the vertical gauge was just way off, and kind of the problem that was causing and how I figured it out, it was like the armhole depth was just way longer than it should have been. And so when I started working up the sleeves, I was like, this is seeming like a really big sleeve. And I was like, maybe I just need to like do the decreases. But even with that, it was still looking big, and it was also like getting longer faster. So I tried redoing it, doing the decreases more frequently. And ultimately I was like, I think I just need to frog this. It's just, it was too far gone. So yeah, that's sad. I don't know. I think even if I size down to the smallest size, it would still like be measuring to be like a medium large, and I don't know. I don't know if it's like worth trying to do the math to figure it out to make it that cardigan, or maybe I'll make something else with it. I still do really want to use the yarn and make the cardigan. I just don't know if I can do them together. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. That one I just like needed it dealt with and frogged and out of my mind for a minute. I'll probably revisit it in the spring or later. I don't know. I just, yeah, that was a little sad, but we'll get back to it and we'll use it up eventually. So yeah, I just wanted to include those. Not everything always works out how you think it's going to. And reminder to check your gauge swatch, not just horizontally, but also vertically, because that's definitely, I'm not always looking at the row gauge when I'm gauge swatching. I feel like I always think it's less important to meet the row gauge, but I do think in some patterns it definitely makes a difference. So yeah. And now on to some happier news. Acquisitions, which this acquisitions section is probably bigger than it usually will be. I did kind of get a lot of stuff going on this month. So the first one I want to talk about is very exciting though, because it is handspun yarn I won in a giveaway. Yeah, I got this from Minnie Grew Studios. She's on Instagram and YouTube, and she had an Instagram giveaway, which, you know, I enter those sometimes, but wasn't expecting to win, and I did. So this is her handspun yarn that I won. Kind of like a teal blue color, and yeah, there's some flecks of like yellow and red, and yeah, it's really pretty. So that was so special. This is 50% merino, 25% Shetland, 12.5% silk, or I guess the rest is silk, two different types of silk there. Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. It feels like very special, but I do think this would be really fun to add as an accent to a project. I do think this color like could go with a lot of different colors too, so for now I'm just like looking at it and admiring it. Yeah, really exciting to get that. And in that package she also included some handmade stitch markers. Ooh. I think I have some of them in use, but here's one for example, the Beauty Guru hand, but let's see. Yeah, this was a little butterfly. There's like 2 or 3, I think there's 3 of them. So that was really exciting also. And oh, here's another one she gave me. Little starfish one. That got me, I had thought maybe back in December or something, I was wanting to make my own stitch markers. And so that definitely inspired me. I went and bought a bunch of supplies and made some for myself. So I did that last weekend, I think. I'll show you a couple. Got some like dice ones. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be impossible. I might just have to insert a picture, but yeah, like smiley face. Some of them I put on clasps and then some on jump rings, so some are more like, you know, beginning of round markers versus ones that you can clip into your knitting. Yeah, it's really fun to make. It's pretty simple. You just need the clasp, charms, and then like I just bought jewelry pliers and made like, I don't know, 30 or so of them in a sitting. So happy to have those and yeah, give them to friends and just, yeah, it's just a fun, different kind of craft, a little break from knitting. Other yarn acquisitions, yarn I got this month, one being a part of a yarn swap. So I'm part of a fiber knitting group based in San Francisco, and I had posted, I had this 4 balls of this knitting for Olive merino in a color that I liked when I bought it, but quickly realized was just like not my color, did not like match my skin tone well. So I posted that and saw if anyone was interested in like buying or trading it or anything, and someone was. So I traded her for knitting for Olive merino in this burnt orange color. So this is much more my vibe. I'm excited to have this. I don't have any plans for it yet, but I was just happy to swap, destash a little, and get something in return that was something that I will definitely use. Yeah, no plans yet, but that was fun to swap. The other yarn I got was for my halibut sweater. So I talked about this in my winter knitting plans, but it did come in the mail. So this is going to be my main color of my halibut sweater. This is the Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia Organic Merino. It is 100% wool. It is yarn weight 3 light. I think that's DK. That always confuses me. Yeah, I really like the feel of this. Definitely more of a woolly feeling, but I think it's still soft enough for against your skin. And then I had some random local wool in stash. I wasn't like 100% sure what it was, but I thought it would work for the contrast color for this sweater, but I swatched it up and it was just too thick. I think I thought it was a little thinner. I think it's more like worsted instead of DK, and so I ended up just buying 1 ball of this. It's the same yarn. Oh, this one is in the colorway Mahogany. This one is in Sand. Just like a nice beigey, and I think these will pair nicely for the halibut sweater. So yeah, this will be the main body, and then this will be what you know, the fish and the other motifs are in. So I have all of this now. I'm not exactly sure when I'll cast this on, maybe February, but yeah, we'll see. The rest of my acquisitions, I have 2 new books and a spinning wheel. So I'll talk about knitting stuff first. Since we're on the topic, I got the Rose Knitwear knit book, which this is by Alice Hoyle, is the designer behind Rose Knitwear. So yeah, dynamic patterns and techniques for creative making. I'm thinking of doing a whole video review of this because I feel like I have a lot to talk about and can kind of show what's in this book without, you know, giving away too much. But yeah, it's really cool. It has a section about yarn. A lot of it focuses on using what's in your yarn stash and working with yarn scraps and like reusing yarn and how to turn fabric into yarn. And then it goes through a stitch library. I think this designer is pretty well known for having some like unique stitch patterns, and so she has a whole section just showing you how to do different types of stitch patterns, and then there's 16 patterns in here. So some of the patterns are ones that she's released as singles that you can just buy from her website or whatever, or Ravelry or whatever, but then there are some patterns in here that are just in this book. So one, for example, is like this blanket, which I think is so cool. Or mostly garments. There's some bags, some scarves and accessories and other things too. Yeah, really cool book. I've been like debating buying this for a while, so I'm glad I finally got this, and I'll definitely be picking out some patterns for maybe spring, summer, and beyond out of this book. And the other book I got, I finally just got a copy of this off of Thrift Books, a secondhand book website, for the Respect the Spindle book. I took a drop spindle class in December, and the instructor said this was like the ultimate spindle book. I haven't looked into it too much, but just happy to have this as a reference as I do more with a drop spindle. And my last but definitely not least acquisition for this month is a electric spinning wheel. This is something I've been thinking about for some time. Like I said, I was using a drop spindle a few months ago and really liked it, but I just felt like I wanted to get a spinning wheel. They're definitely an investment, and so I spent some time thinking about it, And yeah, I ultimately went with the Dreaming Robots 6.1 spinning wheel. I ended up choosing that one because it's a little more portable and small, easier to store, and on the more affordable side of spinning wheels, still an investment, but yeah, I see myself probably, you know, maybe getting a larger wheel, more investment wheel in the future, but for now, just as a starting point, yeah, I've just gotten it recently and tested it out a few times, and yeah, just really excited to have that. It's already like feeling much more intuitive to me compared to the drop spindle. I definitely think it was worth the purchase and excited to really get into spinning. Yep, that's everything for my January. Hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in keeping up with what I've been working on, feel free to follow me on Instagram for more real-time updates. And also subscribe to my channel on here, where I will be posting these monthly updates along with some other knitting content. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I will see you next time. Bye.